So today we'll be interviewing Mr. Franz Harary, one of the greatest, I would say the greatest illusionist in the world. He has worked with Michael Jackson, he had worked with Janet Jackson, Usher, Missy Elliot, quite a number of celebrities in the world, with top class brands like Toyota, Nissan, Honda, AT&T, and you name it. So today we are lucky enough at the opening ceremony of the House of Magic to interview Franz Harary, and we are going to witness something of his new show, which is a $47 million project with 4 live performing theaters, an experience you'll never get in your life. So hold on and we'll speak to Mr. Franz Harary. So Franz, why don't you tell us something about yourself, something that we probably might not know?
Tell you something about myself which you do not know. I don't know. I just discovered the new macaroons at McDonald's. They're excellent. They have like 5 different flavors and you can get them in a set. So that's a part of my life. That's a big part.
Okay.
You want to give me a category of something that you'd like to know?
Probably, if you were not a magician, what would you be?
If I was not a magician, I would probably be a film director, producer. I love telling stories through imagery. I mean, that sounds very vague, but I love the process of being able to create images and then put them out there and affect an audience. That's really what I do through my magic. That's what every good magician does. And I think if I wasn't doing it through illusion design, there would be some other medium, but I'm sure that I would be trying to affect an audience in some way. And I love video. I love this. Television that's my playground. So I'd probably be in that world.
But one of your close friends actually said that you might end up being a singer, because I heard you're quite good at singing, especially at karaoke.
I went to school to be a singer. I had a scholarship to go and study classical voice. So I thought maybe I'll go to New York. I will become a New York Broadway star. But then at the same time I was doing magic, and a series of events occurred, and I ended up jumping over to magic, and the whole music thing went away. But in everything that I produce in my show and this entire House of Magic, I'm the music director. So all of the music is mine. I've done the mixes and in some cases the orchestration. So music is very, very, no pun intended, instrumental to me. It's half the show. You know, music and the visuals are equal in weight, in their gravity.
So basically, looking at your career boost was basically probably after you met Michael Jackson.
Yeah, well, I was going to school as a music student, and so I had access to the opera and the choir and the marching band and all these big groups at the University of Michigan. And at the same time I was doing magic. So I convinced the head of the marching band, let me do magic with the marching band. And so I started to figure out ways, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I started figuring out ways to create very large illusions that would work outside in a stadium for a stadium crowd. And really, without knowing it, I stumbled upon a few formulas, upon a few magical secrets that had not been used. And with these new formulas that I invented, to use a big word for an 18-year-old, I was then able to do all sorts of very large magic for football crowds, So at the same time, Michael Jackson had just announced that he was going out on tour. So I sent a video of myself doing something for one of these football shows. And I said, look, my name is Franz, I'm 19 years old, and I can do magic for you in your big stadium shows. And the next thing you know, I was flying out to Los Angeles to meet my idol, and I never finished school, but Michael and I became friends immediately, and I became his guy, to do all of his magic. And then his sister Janet and Madonna and Hammer and everybody, Missy Elliot, just did Usher. I mean, they all, I kind of became the guy who does magic for concerts. And that became my career. So then, and I'm kind of going off on a little rant here. So then, after a few years of doing this and thinking I'm king of the world, I was hanging out with Michael, and he goes, you're doing all this stuff for me, but don't you miss doing magic yourself? And it's like, yeah, I was. So I took everything that I learned from him. Show production, sound, lights, staging. Back then there wasn't video, but the whole philosophy of putting together a concert. And I used those formulas to put together an illusion show that looks like a pop concert. And really, to agree, that's still what I'm doing today. So in a way, I guess all of this is thanks to Michael,
Obviously, I mean, working with the king of pop, who else could you imagine, right? Getting everything, the choreography to the lights, the sound.
What I learned from him, he said a couple really important things, but the thing that really stayed with me, and he goes, Franz, whatever you do it different than anyone before you has ever done, and make sure it's better than anything that has come before you. And never stop reaching for excellence. And I really live by that. I believe that, So whatever I do, I try to make sure I never repeat. I try to make sure I never copy something that I've done in the past. And I always try to go slightly out of my comfort zone, slightly beyond that safe place, And it's been my, really not just my artistic philosophy, but maybe my life philosophy,
Interesting. And there's this photograph of you wearing Michael Jackson's jacket. And your post on Facebook
the most amazing thing is, and the most remarkable thing is I fit in his jacket. That was 1984, Okay. But I mean, we were hanging out a lot, and I remember sneaking into, I think it was Atlanta. I think we were doing shows in Atlanta, so I snuck into his dressing room and I just started trying on a bunch of stuff, and I go to my friend, hey, take a picture. There's a lot of pictures of me in all the jackets and the gloves and the whole thing, but I can't find them. The pictures have disappeared. That's the only picture I have left.
And today Michael doesn't know about it, right?
Oh no, he did actually.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, that's the last time I saw him. I showed it to him. I thought, all right, I got to come clean on this. 20 years later, here you go.
What was his reaction?
He was most surprised that I fit in it. That's sort of, that's the real miracle,
And also, you had mentioned once that there are a lot of mysteries in Neverland Ranch that you have created.
Oh, yes. I designed the theater, and in the theater, it's all rigged with magic. So he had, all kinds of trapdoors and secret compartments, so he could appear and disappear. But not just the theater, the whole complex, the whole ranch. At one point, he was able to appear and disappear pretty much anywhere he wanted to.
Wow.
And it's this incredible labyrinth of secret passages. And I never told anybody about this. I think he would be happy talking about it now because it was so cool, But I think that the person who bought that property, I'm guessing they haven't found it yet because it's pretty good.
Probably
they're hidden really, really good. Yeah.
You should make a call.
Yeah, or I'll just wait till I'm invited there someday and just screw with them,
So to your knowledge, Michael really used them, did he?
Well, he played around them for a couple of years and then got bored. I know one time I went there, it was being used to store T-shirts or something. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
You get bored with everything. When you're that rich, you get bored quick.
Amazing.
We want to be that rich that we get bored that quick. That would be good.
Probably,
yes.
That'll be good. Probably
yes.
Then. So coming back to the House of Magic, what's your thinking?
The House of Magic is really my life's work. It's somebody asked me how long did it take to design. It took 35 years of magic, of my life in magic to design this place. It's in truth, it took about 5 years because there was about 5 years of design and engineering and literally thousands and thousands of drawings, because not only, the illusions are my design, but everything. This step, I drew this step.
Really?
I selected that seat. I selected, everything. So it's a behemoth amount of work, but it's a labor of love because this is it. This is what I leave to, ideally, not just the magic community, but the world, It's, as an illusion designer, I'm driven first by image. I don't care so much about the how-to as much as I care about the why of it. Why do we want to create these imageries and give this to the audience, and how will these images affect the audience? It's all about that experience, So I'm very image-driven. And when I had the opportunity to create this place, I look at it not as an attraction, as a place, but as an entire piece of magic. You're a magician yourself, so when you develop magic, there's an entire philosophy that goes along with it, a way of thinking. And the whole complex, the whole attraction is designed with a single psychology to make guests believe that once they step, into this capsule, which you can show them outside, that anything is possible and that they should assume nothing. It's everything looks normal and looks pretty acceptable. And I love the idea of retro technology. You can call it steampunk or Jules Vernean technology, because this period of time represents really the birth of science as being a catalyst to real magic, And I just love all that. But the place still feels comfortable enough that you don't ever suspect that there's more going on around you, when in truth, the entire place is rigged, and the moment you step through those doors, you are being manipulated by a pretty complicated matrix of psychologies, And ideally, if I'm successful, you never realize it. Hopefully, well, as a magician, maybe you did realize it,
It's, just to give an insight as to what I experienced, it was amazing. You walk through, it was a bit like James Bond. You're in a maze and you don't know where on earth you're walking, because you bump into mirrors and then, quite a lot of optical illusions.
I'll go with James Bond. Yeah.
And for a moment, you're really in a bit of fear, because you're not sure whether you'll find your way through that.
I will happily take that.
And then you walk into a laboratory where you have, magical stuff. It looks like, a lab for magicians.
Right.
Things are tested.
The Illusioneer, yeah.
The Illusioneer, the pictures, the awards, the sketch drawings, which I think were...
By the way, if you go back into the lab, those sketches are the actual drawings that I did of all of the magic. So, the easiest is to explain it in the backstory that I've been working with. Okay. And that was that this Illusioneer, this illusion inventor in the late 1800s, presumably somewhere in Paris, invents a machine, this capsule that allows him to travel not only through space but through time. So the first thing he does is he goes in search of real magic. He finds all these places, comes back, and simulates them and reproduces them in his laboratory, right? So that's where you've got these separate theaters. One of the theaters looks very Middle Earth. The other theater looks like a Parisian opera house. And then, of course, this future tech place. But all of it is driven by the idea that this capsule happened to now land here, present day in Macau. So his guests are coming into this teleporter and being zapped back to the late 1800s into his illusion studio, and then he shows them his world. So that's the backstory,
Hogwarts kind of theater is that, with the trees and all. That's his living environment.
That's one of the places that he has simulated. Okay. Someday we'll have a plaque and it'll explain all that. Someday, but for right now. But that's the thinking, that these places that he has found, he has simulated in his place. Okay. And he's bringing you back to the late 1800s. Now, that I would be surprised if one person of the 300 and some people who work for me even know the story. I would be amazed. Well, but it's the story that I work with. So in my mind, everything is driven to support that story,
Amazing. I really didn't think there's a storyline behind every theater that you had created.
Right.
And every story that you have created, everything.
It helps, as a producer. If you create a story that becomes your backbone, then it's easier to design and to direct, because you always make sure that there's a continuous thread to that story. If you don't, you can potentially get this mishmash of ideas and the audience goes, what the hell did I just watch? It's very easy to happen,
Exactly. But I must say, from beginning to end, I was spellbound. Being a magician, I was spellbound, and you're guaranteed that you'll never see some of these illusions that you see here. I'm sure most of them, or probably all of them, especially on this stage, you will not see it anywhere in the world.
God, I hope. One of them has been ripped off. One of them was ripped off by a Chinese guy. So one of them you'll see. But everything, the others have not been ripped off yet, knock on wood,
No, I think the point is, Franz, you made it in a way that it's not possible to be ripped off. Because there's so much of technology, so much of thinking, so much of planning. And so much of other elements like the lighting, the backdrop or LED projection that needs to bring that illusion, and I don't think anybody could ever create that.
It's I really see, well, firstly thank you, but I really see the entire production as an illusion. It's not just the magic equipment. It's, as you said, it's video, sound, lighting, everything, automation. It's all integrated to create the kind of grand illusion, the master illusion for the audience to buy into it, because today's audiences are pretty smart.
Exactly.
Macau, the Macanese audiences are really, really intelligent because they've seen everything. Everything comes here. Cirque du Soleil, everything, So it's a very, very tough crowd. So you can't just cut a girl in half and go, love me, it's those days are over,
Yeah.
Yep.
So that actually brings me to an important question. Technology plays a big role today in magic. Magic
Right.
is no more magic as in sleight of hand.
Right.
Probably 10 years down the line, what do you think magic will be?
Well, as technology moves forward, magic has always needed to surf that wave of technology. And at the same time, it is technology that allows us to create magic. Magic creates wonder. That sense of wonder is the catalyst to the creation of new technology, which in turn pushes magic forward. So it's forever this perpetual dance that just it moves forward at the speed of wonder, to use some big words, So that's always going to be there. Now what's happening today is technology is moving so quickly that audiences, contemporary audience, look at something and they just write it off to being science. It's science, it's tech, it's some superconductor, it's in Shanghai, there's a freaking train that floats in the air, we have all that. So as an illusionist, as a magician, we need to figure out a way to use technology, but strip it and make it completely invisible so that what the audience sees, or at least believes they see, is completely organic, completely raw, and often ugly.
Exactly.
Because it is that appears to be real magic, which, by the way, was literally invented in your part of the planet. It is India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. This part of the planet invented magic as we know it today. I mean, you know this, being from Sri Lanka. So, and if you go into India, into Bangladesh, magic is not beautiful. It's freaking ugly, But it fools the hell out of you, If you see an Indian fakiur, it's ugly. But my God, it's like, am I watching this? Is this real? And that is arguably the strongest magic we have today anywhere. Because the audiences watching it assume that this man can afford no technology. So therefore, it must be real. What I do, I'm at a double-edged sword. One, I've got the toys and I've got the tech. But now what I need to do is strip all that away. And when it comes time for the actual magic, the audience must believe that I'm isolated. I do a thing where it looks like there's actually a technical failure in the show.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it is by design to look incredibly disorganized, disheveled, out of control. And it's the audience in this mindset where they believe something technical has gone horribly wrong. Right there, that's where I own them. That's where I need them to be psychologically. And once they're in that place, I can play with them. But to get to that place takes an incredible amount of it's a whole series of psychologies, one laid after the other. And everything, it's like Ocean's 11, it's like Mission Impossible. Everything needs to put in place so when that one moment is activated, the audience is right where I want them to be. I don't know if this is being listened to magicians or normal people, so I'm kind of being kind of nebulous, but you know what I mean, right?
You would understand it. In fact, I spoke to your stage manager who was down here.
Right.
And I asked him, you must be having lists and lists of checklists. Because every bit matters. Every person's role matters. And, and one single mistake can cause big damage at the end.
Oh, yes.
Right? So it's not easy. It's I would say it's like real. I mean, when you go to the movies, you have so much of edits, so much of time spent on editing it.
But in a movie, everything has been cut together and it's now a piece of digital information and you just hit it. Here, everything has to come together. This, at least my show, is like a space launch. You've got a couple hundred people working together and praying to God that everything works perfectly in a row and nothing blows up,
Every split second matters.
Everything is, 1,000 things have to happen perfectly in a row and you hope that in the end, the thing goes off and nothing blows up.
I can imagine. And just to go a bit into what Franz was talking about, that effect of where you kind of show that a technical failure happens.
Right.
I mean, I saw the whole unit after, with lights and all.
Right.
I saw so much of detail that actually the tin is just
it's designed.
It's really damaged. It's like torn apart.
Everything is designed to look as an accident.
Exactly.
It's all very carefully calculated. I might be overthinking this, you know.
No, but I think it creates that illusion at the end of the day.
Right.
People are amazed by it, and they are, I wouldn't like to use the word fooled, but
Yeah, we'll go with fooled. Fooled is good. Yeah.
So that, and basically one question. You've been to Sri Lanka.
I have, yes.
What do you think of the country?
You know, okay. You want honest? I'll give you honest. Firstly, I've traveled the planet many times. I'm very fortunate in that my career allows me to circle the globe. That's all I do. I've been everywhere. When I got to Sri Lanka, this was 5 years ago.
Okay.
What I saw, and I've never said this to anybody, so I'm telling it to you. What I saw in Colombo was a community where everybody was just so happy to be alive. I don't know if that makes any sense. They were the most genuinely happy, almost rejoiceful people that I have found anywhere in the world. And I almost thought something was suspicious. I thought, like, is it me? Is there a camera following me? Because nobody's this nice.
Stage play.
This is not real. And then what happened is my visa for India got screwed up and I was stuck in Sri Lanka for 2 more days.
Lucky
Lucky me. So I really got a chance to get to know the community a little bit. And what I discovered is, I mean, Sri Lanka has had a pretty checkered past recently. You know, it's not been all fun and games. And when that all finished, what I saw is the people who are now so genuinely just happy to be living life and enjoying life and sharing life. And for me as a foreigner to come in, they just wanted to show that. They wanted to show me, look what we've got, and look at who we are. And there was so much pride there. It was surreal, you know. It was like Shangri-La, you know. It's which half of the people who go to Sri Lanka expect Shangri-La, you know. So it was almost a religious experience. It is a warmth that I have not seen anywhere else in the world. And this is the truth, you know.
That's nice to hear. One last thing. One of my dreams, Franz, is to see a Sri Lankan magician going into international stage.
Right.
Probably being a world
Specifically
champion.
Himself.
No, not really. I'm working quite a lot trying to
specific.
groom the magic community. So my dream is to see somebody out there. I mean, I think for me it's a long shot because magic is not my full-time job. Because there's a lot of dedication, a lot of work that is required. But for those young magicians, the ones who will be there someday,
Right.
if you can give us few tips as to what they should do,
Well,
and what might be few ingredients of the recipe.
Firstly, you're freaking lucky because right now you got the internet. When I was doing this, when I started out, there was no internet. I had to figure everything out on myself.
I didn't have it either.
So, yeah, you're a bit younger than I am. So get online and study everything you can. Don't copy. Do not copy others. That makes you a bottom feeder. That is as bad as it can get, to steal someone else's work. But learn, be inspired, and then start to try to experiment, because that's all I did. I started experimenting with boxes and with bet sheets and newspapers. And growing up, I had no money, you know, but I had some tape and I had some, you know, rope. And so I started experimenting. Experiment and play. And every opportunity you get, do it in front of an audience. Don't worry about what's been done before. Figure out who you are. Figure out who you are as a person. And then come up with new magic that is you. New magic that is uniquely your personality. Because the world does not need one more guy in a black jacket, a guy who looks like Chris Angel or David Copperfield. There's enough of that. But there's a big giant window open there for somebody from your part of the planet to come up and say, all right, magic started here about 6,000 years ago. Let me show you what it is today. It's a huge window. And if the right person at the right time figures out how to do that and create magic that is uniquely Sri Lankan, Vegas would feed on it. You know, it's waiting for it. It's easier than it's ever been for the right person.
Brilliant. So, Franz, finally, once again, I would like to invite you to visit Sri Lanka.
Please I look forward to it.
Us, and I'm sure this
Absolutely.
time we can spend more time, probably more than 2 days.
Maybe 5 days. But you know what we need to do before we leave? We need to make that camera and that cameraman and the lighting guy too, make everybody disappear. Okay. Right? Snap fingers, count of 3. 1, 2,